All right, people, we have a question that is written in that's very, very important that is on our Austin Men's Development Board. It's on the free public board. Very cool. And we got some of the best advice. And I just want to articulate this. I actually asked the guy if I could make a video about it. But before we get into this, I just want to say, look, this is the TSL podcast. We talk about sex, anything you want to know about sex, relationships. If you're married, if you're having sexual dysfunction, if you want to pick up chicks, if you want to have better sex, if you're confused about sex, any of those things, that's what we do. TheSexualLife.com is our home. Download whatever we got there. And also follow the links to this podcast specifically because I guarantee you there is an awesome PDF attached to it, whether that's on how to get a date, how to have better sex, how to be the man with the golden dick, the way of the sexual man. Man, I think we have like 15 or 16 PDFs. They were all written for a reason, that were specific questions asked over and over again. And we put together the answers that worked out of experience with like tons of people doing it. So you can't go wrong with that. So go to whatever the link is down below, sexuallife.com/something, and you can get that. Now, that being said, we also have another podcast, The Daily Awesome. Go to that if you're interested in other things on just men's development in general, because that's some for real shit, man. Some for real shit. So iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and of course, subscribe and all that other sort of stuff. Man, look, let me just tell you, I don't pay people for fake subscriptions and for fake reviews. So please write one. I hate that, man. I hate the fact that that's how your podcasts get fed to you, not by the actual quality of it. It's a racket. But anyway, so let's get to this. This is awesome. So this dude writes in on, and he's actually a Men's Development Excellence member. He's actually on the call right now. And he's like, man, I broke up with my girlfriend and now I started dating. All right. And I started dating, and how do I deal with this? How do I honestly communicate with these women? I feel bad. This girl, we had good sex and it was cool, but I'm not looking for a girlfriend. And she's saying things to me like, oh man, I really, I have a good time with you, and, whatever, that sort of thing, and the things that will come up that they'll always say is like, well, so what is this, define this for me, or that'll happen after the fourth or fifth time of having sex. They'll start bringing up those things. It's funny because I was talking to a girl about this today. Oh, I love conversations like that. I was like, for me, it's after 4 times of having sex. I'm like, all right, do I really want to keep this person around because I'm developing feelings in a relationship that, I may not want? And she was like, yeah, man, for me, it's 5. It's the same thing. I know the same thing myself. I was like, all right. But anyway, we all kind of replied on this. And one of the better replies was from a very experienced guy. He's on Austin Men's Development, again, free board. And he gave a breakdown of it. And one thing that he also said I want to address on this is he said, man, because I got so good at having multiple girlfriends, it's hard for me just to have one girlfriend now. This is a real problem that people run into, that I've run into, that a lot of pickup guys have run into. And we actually have a video that is about like a player's guide to monogamy or something like that. And man, check that out, because that's a big thing that we got to explore. So before I get into what this gentleman wrote and broke down, because it's excellent and concise, what I want to point out here is there's something very important. A lot of times when we hear about dating multiple women, we hear in the dating industry all this stuff about the moral high ground and how you need to communicate as a man and be authentic and have integrity and all these cool words that sound great. But the reality of it is that these are very difficult things to do, and you should do them and you should work towards doing them. But all those guys that give that advice in general don't give it themselves. And it's a very hard thing to do. And I mean, the high road's the high road because not a lot of people walk it. And so you as a man need to develop this, and it takes time to develop it and allow yourself to fail and screw up. And you're going to get caught in stuff where it's easier to lie or you're uncomfortable. So you take the softer path, the lower road or whatever. I've done that many times. And I think that's a very important thing to bring up, not because it's the right thing, but because if I'm not being honest about it and I'm not in a room or a group like this one here with 20 guys on the call at 10 p.m. tonight, Austin time. That's pretty awesome, from all around the world, where I can be honest and they can all be honest and talk about their stuff. Then we live a lie. We lie to ourselves. We lie to our accountability partners. We lie to the people that are going to hold us to the accountability of being our best self. But more importantly, we lie about what works and the advice we give. So think about that. If I start saying, oh man, well, you have to be direct and tell her and be the man. And I know just from life experience and coaching that that is not going to happen all the time. And that we don't allow that latitude to go like, man, I fucked up. I know I'm trying to say the right thing and do the right thing and, hold myself to a good moral code and be honest. But man, the pussy was there and it was good. My dick was hard and she wanted to suck it. And she said she loved me. And I was like, I love you back. And all that sort of stuff. If I can't say that, then the advice that I'm giving, the advice that I'm getting, and the experience of the entire group is polluted with a lie. And it's not what works. And that's really sad. And that is what has happened to the men's development industry. It sucks. So let's get into this. Dating multiple women. This gentleman writes in, he said, this is a thread that was asked about, a very useful post. I had no idea how to have a girlfriend, but somehow one singular girlfriend, but somehow I managed for multiple years to maintain non-serious relationships, fuck buddies, for about a decade. I found some guidelines that are pretty helpful. Number one, sex must be the basis of a relationship. He goes on to say, so many guys miss this and it baffles me. Literally, the social contract of a fuck buddy is based around sex. So your meetups should involve sex 90% of the time, 10% can be around fun activities. Man, this is so important. Every guy talks about this. And this is really interesting when I was talking to the girl about stuff like this, because she is kind of like a player or whatever. Man, she was talking about this. It's about sex. It's about fucking. Why do you have to make it more than that? I don't understand when guys make it more than that. Now, not a lot of girls have this mentality of this girl. But she's like, so many of them, they all tell me they just want to fuck. Or all my guy friends tell me they just want to fuck. But then when it's the opportunity to fuck me, they make it about how they have to be won over or whatever. No, I just want you to fuck me. I want you to fuck me good. I want you to fuck me soft. I want you to fuck me hard. I want you to have the experience of sex, but of sex, not all the stuff before and after. And so many guys think going into an experience that we need to be something more. We need to win her over. Man, I'll tell you straight up. If I'm trying to bone a girl, if I'm trying to get her or whatever, like I don't go into any of that shit. All right. Unless I really like her and I care for her in those ways. But it's like, hey, you want to meet up? You want to meet up? You want to meet up? That's it. Let's hang out. Let's have some one-on-one logistics time. Let's not go into like, oh my gosh, I care about who you are as a person. And that's so cool. Man, I love that shit. I love that shit when I see guys hit on my girlfriends or, friends of mine or whatever. And I see their text messages or I see what they say. And it's just so fucking stupid, man. Get to the point of it. It is about sex. If you haven't had sex with them yet, you might not want to say just sex, right? That will turn a ton of women off. Some it doesn't, but be to the point. Don't make it about something else. Don't misrepresent yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. And that's not this higher self man integrity. That's just like, dude, just do what works because that's what works best. So do it for that reason. And then you can, once you start living that life, then you can start going like, man, the real man actually does this. And it gave me these values through working through it in these ways rather than some, conceptual, Bible fantasy verse of masculinity. All right. Second, number 2, don't buy her stuff. Guys buy stuff for their girlfriends, not fuck buddies. Buying her coffee or ice cream or alcohol is totally fine. So buying a small, thing that fits within the situation, and I'm glad he wrote that because it doesn't mean you need to be cheap. So many guys like get into that and they just turn people off by being cheap. Like, man, if it's around the right situation, and if you're a fuck buddy, you're not taking them to some extravagant date. You really shouldn't be on a date. I would make it all about my house or all around that. And even if I was seriously dating somebody for the first date, I would make it around my house. I would not make it around some extravagant thing unless I wanted that experience. But I know that in that, man, I always say like have sex as quick as possible because you see the real person, after you've had sex. And if you're not having sex, then you see this facade of them and this front and it just becomes stupid and all these rules of what they're supposed to be. All those rules go out the window once you get intimate and connect with them and all that sort of stuff. Don't buy her stuff. Don't be a boyfriend. Don't do the actions of what a boyfriend does. Okay, number 3, don't see her more than twice a week. Now, I'm going to tell you this. For me, it was don't see her more than once a week. All right, do not have sex with her more than once a week. He says twice a week, and he did it for a fucking decade, so that's pretty cool. I probably could have gone up to twice a week in following this plan. He says, this should probably be the number one thing I wrote. Seeing her more often than that will make her think she is your main girl or girlfriend. This keeps distance. And here's the thing. I'd even say it doesn't even go into this thing where she, thinks, or a lot of guys, and I don't think he's meaning it this way, but a lot of guys will interpret this as like, oh man, women, think this stuff. It's more that like when you put the food there, it allows the opportunity for it to be eaten. And that's the opportunity of a relationship. If you guys are having sex and you have sex on Monday, and then you're like, man, that was so good, let's do it again on Tuesday. Those are 2 really powerful experiences. And even if the sex wasn't good, but 2 really powerful experiences right in a row that start to become a very quick habit because it's a powerful experience. It's a powerful experience, of course, because it's sex, but it's a choice. It's a level of intimacy. It's a level of safety. It's a level of, I'm going to give my body to you. I'm going to let you see me naked. Those are very powerful things, let alone the actual, feeling of sex and so on. The 4th thing is make her come to your place most of the time. Now, this is something that I didn't always follow. All right. And this is super cool. I'm glad he points this out here because that makes it so much easier. If she comes to your place, you're more in control of the situation. It's her stepping into your world rather than you stepping into her world. If you're going to her place, he writes here, like, you're investing in the wrong way. I don't really buy into that sort of terminology, but I get what he's saying. What I feel is that, and I feel actually the same thing. I just don't call it, those same things. He says this sets up the right frame for her to invest. She's the one taking action. That's what's important. You are not taking action for her. If you're with somebody, sex is involved, good sex especially is involved. You guys are sharing time together and you're putting in effort. Again, it's putting food into that relationship feeder that gets eaten. And you feed from that trough too, right? Or you feed from that bowl or whatever you want to call it too. So you'll get wound up in it just as much as she will. Number 5, don't talk about feelings. Keep it light, keep it fun, keep it sexual. Feelings equal girlfriend. This goes into even more. You don't answer texts about her day. Don't buy into an emotional role about making her feel good. Don't get into these areas where you have to be kind and nice or, whatever about her. These are things that and she'll most likely ask. I mean, dude, if you fuck a pussy good and you make her feel like a woman, just like if she fucks your dick good, you're going to want to open up to her in different ways. They might not be emotional. There might be in ways where you're like, man, well, I want to pay for this. Or I want to do this. Or I want to take charge. Or I want to put my stamp on this or whatever, blah, 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 blah. She's going to have certain feelings too. That's for a relationship. That's for a girlfriend. And this is a relationship. It's a fuck buddy relationship, but it runs by a different code that eventually you're going to have to define for yourself, but these are your training wheels for it. So don't buy her stuff. Don't talk about feelings. Don't answer text messages about feelings. Don't answer phone calls about feelings. Don't get into her feeling a certain way isn't a concern of yours. And again, like all these asshole misogynist motherfuckers, well, first off, be a real misogynist and go get some fucking pussy and fucking have that shit worshiping you or all over your dick or coming at you in all different ways. And then you can know what it means to, whatever it is you're saying, fuck a bitch like a bitch or yada, yada, yada. But in what is broken down here is not talking about feelings, isn't because you hate women or isn't because you need to be mean to women, isn't because you need to control women. It's that you don't want to talk about feelings because you don't want to feed that same thing. All right? You don't want to feed that relationship, food bowl or whatever, because you're eating from it too. All right? You'll get caught up in that shit. It's not good. All right? So fuck her right. If you don't, she will disappear because the sex is what she's seeing you for. I'm going to put a caveat in this. You don't always want to give away the good dick. You want to learn how to fuck. If you learn how to fuck, that will solve most of your problems. A girl will stick around if you're fucking her good. I mean, I was talking to this girl today and she was saying, no, man, I just like fuck these dudes. And I was like, yeah, and it was actually a funny conversation because I'm like, hey, look, dude, I don't fucking give a shit. I probably suck in bed now. Been in a relationship 5 years and we have good sex, but like, man, I mean, I remember and I just know how women will react. So I'm not saying this to be like, oh, male dominance shit, but I was like, so you've never had a guy just fuck you and just break, you want to give yourself. Like he fucked you, but it made you feel so good. You were like, oh my God, I just want to like be around this guy. You've never had that? And she was like, man, it's been a long time. That's sad. That's sad. That means a lot of guys don't know how to fuck, which is what I knew. And man, that's how I knew how to lock a girl down back in the day when I was boning like a motherfucker. But the thing is that you want to fuck good. You want to learn some basics of sex. Okay. Golden Dick video, Golden Dick PDF. There's a lot of sexual stuff that we have. Again, this is why you should be listening to the podcast. It's why you should be downloading the PDFs. This is why you should be like, all right, I will give my email to that. And then guess what? You give your email to it. You get emailed all this other cool shit about sex. You're fucking good to go. You want to learn that, but you should also learn that if you give it too good, it will force her to go relationship. I mean, and man, and I'll just tell you, straight up experience is not just forcing her to have a relationship. She'll try and get pregnant. She'll try and do all this sort of stuff. This stuff happens, man. It's not because women are these like deceptive, evil creatures. Like, again, a lot of that misogynist shit goes, it's just, man, when you give that good of sex, the true function and purpose of sex comes out and it gets fucking nuts. And you talk to any man who's honest about it too, he'll be like, man, when the fucking's that good, I just want to blow my load in her and it's like the coolest thing. And then, you don't really think about the fucking 18-year paycheck. You don't really think about, all the, man, you don't think about a lot of shit. And if you're unprepared to think about that shit, you don't need to. So keep the golden dick, keep it to the bronze dick for a little bit or whatever. Just make it a good enough dick. That's important. But it is about sex and that's important. Number 7, he writes, expect her to disappear. This is very important. Guys won't let it go. And he says, actually, the average time for him is 2 months to a year. Sometimes it goes further than that, but it's rare. I knew a guy that had 3 girls for 3 years. Maybe it was 4. But that was a lot of work. And you don't want that. You don't want to hold on to these women. So many dudes, this is the curse. And this is the thing that I want to get into about how he's saying it's hard for him to have a girlfriend, because this is the curse of a guy that's good with women. It starts to overshadow all the insecurities and poor things that make your poor things about yourself that make your relationships bad, because you're so good at getting a new one. You're so good at maintaining a girl. You're so good at keeping her. What you got to start doing is, if you have fuck buddies and you have a lot of them, you have to be able to let them go. In order to get them to stay, it's usually a lot of like manipulation and emotional stuff. And especially when sex is involved, like, man, the gloves come off, or I shouldn't say gloves, but it opens up the boundaries. It opens up the arena to so much more of what gets done, of what you're pulling at, what's being pulled at with you. And so the longer you stay in a relationship that isn't meant to be, dude, it gets some weird shit holding that together, man. There's some like weird glue, spit, bubblegum wrappers, all sorts of stuff keeping that thing together, and it gets really, really nasty. So the thing is know that she's going to disappear at some point, and let her. You can find another girl. All right. You can build another thing. It doesn't take that much work. And especially when you get to here, when you get to where this guy's talking about, it's very easy to do. All right. Now I want to talk about that other thing about, when you get into this mode, but I'm going to do that in a separate recording because this one's gone on a little bit long. So listen to the next podcast or whatever. It should be out the next day or so, or maybe at the same time. We'll see how I do it. But what's important about this is a lifestyle that can be had. You don't need to overthink it. You need to do it. Remember, this is about sex. Make it about sex. Make it about meeting them. Don't make it about the things that you don't want. You don't have to, in order for you to be this guy, it's very important. You don't have to be a guy that hates women either. You don't have to be a guy that's studly. You just have to be the guy that gives her the dick that is in front of her. That is all she wants. That's all that's necessary to maintain this. You don't need to be alpha. You don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need to have a lot of value. You don't need any of that shit. As I was explaining to a guy who wrote me, and he's like, I was just trying to be a high value guy. I'm like, man, Every guy that I know that's good with women, he may have money now, but at some point he was fucking like near homeless or homeless, and he was fucking as many chicks as possible, worshiping them, paying for his rent or whatever. I mean, it's just, it's such a dumb thing. I mean, have money, have value about yourself, but for yourself, but don't do it so that you can finally be cool or something. So it's about sex. Get into the experience, have it, post about it on the Austin Men's Development Board. It's free. If you want to step it up, Men's Development Excellence is pretty amazing. We have calls like this, that this call is going to go on probably 5 hours tonight with dudes from all over around the world, probably like 40 or 50 guys cycling through it. And then we do calls on Sunday, we do calls on Saturday, we do calls on Thursday, we do calls all the time because community is so fucking important. That's why we do it. That's why we open this up. And hopefully this podcast helps you in your life. All right. Have a good day and go fuck.